What's up guys? Today's video, bit of an update and also a wrenching video for everyone. First update is I finally got COVID, so I'm on my last day of isolation today. So if my voice is a little bit husky, I've been basically coughing up a lung all week, so forgive me. Next thing is the CA is finally out of the 180 after about 6 months after Foolish Line. This thing is finally been separated. Really don't know what I do with this setup here. Kind of tempted to sell it and use the money to fix the Silver Street R32, but depends what money I can get and what the situation is. I really don't need a third drift car, so yeah, not sure what I'd do. At the very least, I would change the setup a fair bit and put some kind of decent gearbox on the back of the CA, or maybe even do something like a case swap, I don't know. But anyway, that would be a long way down the track if I did. Just tossing up ideas at the moment at what I should do. The next thing is that the LS block that I was going to use to get Smokey going again, that has run into a few issues. The original block that I blew up, that one we took the sleeve out, got it welded up because it cracked through the bore of the cylinder and also through the aluminium. So we've got that welded up and then put a new sleeve in it. Problem was that it still isn't pressure testing correctly, so that idea has gone in the bin. I've got another block there that is going to need new aftermarket pistons and rods because the bores need boring out. So that's going to get very expensive, which is a bugger, but it's the way these things go. So next thing is the missile. You haven't seen this in a little while other than parked out the front of the garage here. Reason being, at Foolish Line we couldn't get it to run properly. The thing would not rev out and we tried all sorts of different bits and pieces. Then I spent the next 4 months in the garage here trying to get it to run properly. Finally, I gave up. We ended up having an event, a memorial organised for Todd, and I had to get this thing running properly, so shipped it off to a tuner. He had it on the dyno, had a whole bunch of issues with it. Eventually figured out, amongst other things, that there was a whole bunch of dirt and debris in the fuel system. Got that all cleaned out, and well, now she's pretty happy. Makes 200 kilowatts on a pretty much stock engine and turbo setup, and goes pretty good. When we took it out to the memorial event, his brother did some donuts in it. His mum came out in the car with me. We took his ashes out for one last run. Might have been a tiny little fire on that last run when we took his ashes out. And then, yeah, the car became the village bicycle. Everyone had a shot. It was a good day. So that side of things is all closed off now. And this is probably going to be my my casual car, my seat time car. So I've got to do some bits and pieces to it to get it up to that standard. I left this thing pretty much exactly the way that he had it on the outside. But now that the memorial event's over, I think I'm going to have to do a few bits and pieces to it to get it up to pass, so it passes scrutineering. And that's pretty much what we're going to be doing this episode, is getting this thing so I can take it out to our events, which I'm the president of Drifting SA, so I can't be turning up with a car that doesn't pass scrutineering. Got to at least put some effort towards that. So yeah, want to make sure it passes our events, any other events at Malalar, and is a nice safe automobile to be drifting around in. So that's what we're going to be doing today. Let's go take a look at what we've got on our hands and what we need to fix up. So the items that need addressing, I'm not going to get all of them done this episode, I don't think, but these are what we're going to try and work on. I've only got one weekend till Winterfest when I want to drive it. So we're going to need headlights to do the night prac. So these ones are pretty old, pretty buggered. I'll probably get LED versions and wire them up. Got a hazard light down here. This intercooler is only held in with cable ties, though it is held very securely. So I think we'll probably miss this one for Winterfest and come back to it before I drive the time after that. But that should really be bolted in, at least to some degree. Not really a scrutineering issue, but we overheated this engine a whole bunch, which is why it's all covered in dirt. Got a stock radiator, a knackered viscous hub and no shroud, so I'm going to fix that up. We've got a new shroud, or a second-hand shroud, and we've got a brand new viscous hub, which should help with airflow a fair bit. Windscreen. And I've had to get into people about making sure that they don't have cracks in the windscreen because it's a part of the insurance. And I've got a crack in my windscreen, so got to lead by example. So I'm going to get that changed out for a different windscreen, one that doesn't have a crack. Coming around to the side of the car in the cabin, I've already set it up so that I can drive it. So you got my cup on the shifter here and an extension on the handbrake. We already have harnesses, a half cage, all that stuff, and door bars. So that side of things is a-okay. Coming around to the back, we did have a small fire in the back of the car here, and yeah, that wasn't ideal. We need to get the cover that goes over the top of the, or the plate that goes over the top of the fuel tank here, so that we can isolate the fuel system from the drivers, which is what we want from all of our people that come out to our events. So I need to make sure that I do that. Just the stock plate should be fine. And then we've got finally tail lights. So this one, obviously all the red part's been smashed off. I might be able to get a red globe that goes in there, and that should work because this light still works. Then over this side, probably take a leaf out of Stewie's book and wire in a trailer light just to sit inside that void there. So that is going to be the plan. I'm just going to go down to Repco, grab the bits and pieces that we need, start fitting this thing up for Winterfest. Well, it's been a couple of days, got out of ISO, bought some bits and pieces. I got these King's lights to replace these headlights here. Don't know if they're going to be the most amazing headlights I've ever had on a drift car, but they can't be any worse than these were. And the main thing is they should at least pass tech and scrutineering so that we can go do some night driving. So that'll bolt on there pretty much the same way. Then I just got to wire them up. Right, moment of truth. Both working? Very bright. Excellent. That's one thing off the list. On to the cooling setup. When we took this car out to JDMX Park recently, it overheated quite a bit. JDMX Park does have a tendency to make cars overheat at the best of times, but this thing really wasn't getting cool at all. So had a chat to Stewie. He seems to reckon that a really old viscous hub with very little resistance and no shroud is probably the cause of our issues. So I got a second-hand shroud in the shed, and I got a brand new viscous hub here, which has a lot more resistance than this this old one here. So I'm gonna chuck those on, and hopefully that's gonna fix up our cooling issues. This contrasting light is making everything really difficult because everything is either super bright or super dark. Yeah. See if it comes out past the intercooler. Yes! That's grotty. Okay. Well, it's a bit disappointing. This brand new viscous hub is incorrect and hasn't got the right PCD for either the 32 or the RB25 fan. So we're going to have to get a new hub because this one that's listed on the Dayco site isn't right. Going to have to figure that out when all the shops open back up. That's going to be a Monday, Tuesday thing. So gonna go around to the back instead and fix up the issue where there's no firewall between the fuel tank and the cabin of the car. So got this plate here off a friend and gonna bolt that one up now to make sure that no more fire can get through to me and anyone in the passenger seat. So we've got the fuel tank plate back on, so no more fires into the cabin, hopefully. No more fires, hopefully, at all. That needs the wiring cleaned up a little bit, but it's pretty much done now. Next thing on the list is tail lights. So all the tail lights actually work at the back here, but they're not really in a state that they're working that great. This one here, I've taken the bulb out because I've got a tinted bulb to put in there, and I think that should be fine. Over here, the blinker and this light actually work, but they don't really do a good job in their current state. But I got something for that in the form of trailer lights. So I'm gonna put one of these in this big old hole here because I don't think we're gonna be able to straighten that out enough to get a proper R32 light in here. So I think I'm just gonna mount that in this hole and that is going to give us all the tail lights that we need to get through scrutineering. So a simple case of just cutting some wires, mounting a trailer light, and that is another thing going to be off the list. Well, it's bloody freezing out here this morning, and I'm trying to get some work done in between it pouring down with rain. Last night, Tristan and I got the tail light, or the trailer light, all hooked up and wired in correctly, so that's working a-okay. Got the red bulb in this side, and the headlights actually work surprisingly well, maybe even too well. They're pretty bright to look at. Now I've got to mount this trailer light in here somehow. I do have this over here. I think this is used for mounting electrical items on a fuse box or a house, but I happen to have a length of it, and I think it's going to work pretty well as a mounting solution for this trailer light. Look at this, what a bracket. What a lovely, lovely job of butchery. I'm pretty happy with this, fogged it black, and it's all working pretty good. Got a couple of cable tie ends to attend to, and that is gonna be all done. I also cleaned out the entire boot of any of the fire extinguisher powder. Reason being, and I didn't realize this, that stuff is super corrosive. Anything in the car that wasn't 100% painted or plated has started corroding and rusting. So top tip for you, if you ever have a fire extinguisher go off in the car, clean that shit up ASAP, to the point where the coilovers, the top of the coilovers started corroding, and also any tools that I used a couple of days ago on the car that I just put in there for an hour or two when I was working and then put back in the toolbox that got that powder on it also started corroding. So pretty nasty stuff. Otherwise though, the windscreen, that's going to get changed midweek. I do have another fan hub on the way. Hopefully it's going to get here in time. If not, I'll chuck the old one on, put a fan shroud on, and hope to God that that's enough to keep it cool. I think out there with a bit more speed will create a bit more airflow. Hopefully it won't be as bad as a JDMX park. So yeah, that is pretty much where we're up to now. The last thing I've got to do is I'm going to remove the headliner, because I pretty much sit bolt upright to get to the controls, and my head hits the roof. So I don't want to get a sore neck again. Pull that headliner out, should give me just a little bit more space, and hopefully, yeah. Actually doesn't look too bad. Might save that for this silver car. Oh, so dusty. So very dusty. Well, the headlining's gone now. No more scraping me lid on the roof. It's going to be nice not have to tilt my head all the time every time I drive it. Done a couple of other things in here to make myself a little bit more comfortable too. The more I work on this car, the more comfortable I get with it. I get to put my own little touches and just get a little bit more familiar with everything. Still plenty of little bits and pieces to get done to really get this to a nice, reliable seat time car, but we're getting there. That's the main thing. Gonna be out at Winterfest on the weekend, so hit me up if you're out there. Gonna be chucking down some laps in this thing in between doing a bunch of volunteering. So yeah, if you want to run laps, let me know. If you want to jump in the passenger seat, also hit me up. I'll see what we can swing. Obviously gonna be a bit happier now that I've got the scrutineering side of things a bit more down pat. Got all my lights and all that sort of stuff. So keen to go throw down on the weekend, and cheers for watching. Obviously, this is a bit of a slower episode with just some updates and some random wrenching going on, but you know, you got to get these videos in between other bigger things. So cheers for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Ah, it's raining again. Lovely. Well, here's some extra bonus footage. After I finished up the video, I waited till it was dark, decided to just film some of the lights actually working. However, this light, the new trailer light, decided not to work because it is an asshole, as far as I can work out. Anyway, turns out the earth had decided to snap here for no apparent reason, even though it had worked for every day up until this point. On the plus side, I now have hazard lights that work. So they weren't working before, so I'm going to take a little bit of a win with that one. And yeah, so I've got all the lights that we need now. Anyway, hooroo.